Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lisa Hastings, the Monitoring Officer at Tendring District Council, and this is a meeting of the Tendring District Council Standards Town and Parish Subcommittee. The reason I'm speaking first is that because we have not had a meeting of this subcommittee for some considerable time, the first item on the agenda is to elect a chairman for the meeting. So if I could have some nominations, please. Councillor Alexander.
Thank you. I nominate Councillor Casey for this position as chairman for today.
Thank you. And do you have a seconder? Councillor Jim Codling, thank you very much. Is that agreed? Yes, thank you. So congratulations, Councillor Casey. You are now the chairman for this meeting.
Right, item 2, apologies for absence and substitutions.
Chairman? Yep. Yeah, Linda Belgrove, Councillor Linda Belgrove has sent apologies some time ago and she can't attend.
Sorry, Chairman, there's one more apology to give from Bethany.
Thank you, Chair. I have received apologies from Sheila Murphy, which is one of Tendring District Council's independent persons.
Okay.
But I'm having difficulty in hearing through the mics. Could we just up the volume a tad?
What I'd like to do is introduce everybody around the table so we all know each other. If you go around the corner and just say who you are, so we all know we're all a happy family for this afternoon. Okay?
Right, I'm District Councillor Jim Codling from Blue House Ward.
Just the name of it.
Morris Alexander, District Councillor for St James Ward.
I'm Danny Bottrell, Parish Councillor for Little Clacton Parish Council, also Wheely Parish Council, and also sit on the TDALC along with Councillor Belgrove.
Yes, Councillor Frank Belgrove, Chairman of Oldsford Parish Council, also Chairman of the Tendring District Association of Local Councils and Executive of the Essex Association of Councils.
Okay, right.
I'm David Irvin, I'm one of the independent people.
Okay.
I'm Jane Watts, independent person.
And Sue Galoni, independent person.
Okay.
Karen Hayes, corporate governance, performance and procurement manager.
Ian Ford, Democratic Services Manager.
Bethany Jones, Democratic Services Officer.
Lisa Hastings, Corporate Director for Law and Governance and Monitoring Officer for Tendring District Council, which also includes Monitoring Officer for all of the town and parish councils in the district too.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to the meeting. Item 3, declaration of interest. Anybody got any declaration of interest? There are none, okay. Item 4, report to the Monitoring Officer and recommendation to the Parish Council improving standards action.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll introduce the report for you and for the subcommittee, which commences on page 5 of this agenda. If you will indulge me to take some time just to explain why we are here today, and the report has been published on the Council's website but I think it's important to take you through some of the salient points in the meeting, and also for anybody that is viewing the live stream. So first of all, I'd like to explain what the role of the Standards Subcommittee is. So its full title is the Town and Parish Council Standards Subcommittee, and I will refer to it as the Standards Subcommittee from now on, so I don't have to keep repeating the long title. The subcommittee is part of the District Council's Standards Framework, and the legislation, which is the Localism Act 2011, requires the District Council as the principal authority to adopt arrangements for dealing with member code of conduct complaints for its district councillors, but also for town and parish councillors in the district area. Each town or parish council, which I will refer to as local councils from now on, each local council is required to adopt its own code of conduct and then notify myself as the monitoring officer, and we have a record of those. However, if there is any complaint made against a town or parish councillor, those are not dealt with at a local level. They are referred straight to myself as the monitoring officer, and I deal with those complaints strictly in accordance with the complaints procedure which Tendring District Council as the principal authority has adopted. Within my role as well, I provide training sessions to town and parish councillors on the code of conduct, and sometimes other matters if necessary as a result of a particular complaint. The subcommittee is formed of 3 district councillors, which we have here today and have introduced themselves, and we also have 3 co-opted but non-voting members, being the town and parish council representatives. And the constitution does state that when we are considering a town and parish council matter, we as a district council have to take regard to the comments of those representatives. So please feel free to participate in the debate of this meeting like you would if you were a voting member, obviously until we get to the vote. So please, take full part. So as I've referred to code of conduct complaint, the terms of reference of the committee also covers if it is felt that there should be any matters requiring recommendations from this subcommittee to town and parish councils in relation to general code of conduct matters, and which is why we're having this meeting today. I'll now take you through parts of the report. I just thought it'd be useful to provide a bit of background explanation to the role of the committee. So back in November in 24, Tendring District Council received a complaint when I'm going to refer to the councillor as the subject member, and that complaint related to the use of social media, and the use of that social media. It was alleged that the code of conduct had been breached. In accordance with the complaints procedure, what happens is that you receive a complaint and it goes to the subject member for them to comment on. And within the complaints procedure, there are 3 options available to me, and that has been delegated by Tendring District Council. One of them is to take no further action. One is to seek informal resolution if felt appropriate, and the other one is that the case merits investigation. at no point do I determine that there has been a breach of the code or not. In this case, due to the circumstances which were put before me, I decided that the case merited investigation. Investigations do not always find that there has been fault, and sometimes investigations reveal that there hasn't been breaches of the code of conduct. In this part of the investigation process is that the parties are involved and other individuals can be interviewed. In this matter, I instructed Mrs. Hayes, who's here today, to undertake the investigation on my behalf. The complaints procedure states that if there is evidence of a finding of a breach of code, then a hearing has to be called of either the full committee if it's district councillor, or the subcommittee if it's a town or parish councillor, unless informal resolution is appropriate. And because there was findings within the investigation that there was evidence that a breach of the code of conduct had occurred, this committee was being scheduled to hold a hearing. After the committee was scheduled and we did seek informal resolution, the subject member resigned as a councillor. That means that they are no longer subject to the code of conduct. So there is no legal reason to carry on with an investigation through to a hearing because they're no longer bound by the code of conduct. So this committee is not holding a hearing into the conduct of that matter, of that former councillor. And actually, because the committee has not held a hearing, there is no finding that the code of conduct has been breached. So that's the position we're in. However, as the report highlights, that through the investigation and through some generic research which I undertook as well, it has revealed that, in my opinion, town and parish councils may benefit from raising awareness and guidance to all councillors on the uses of social media whilst they are holders of public office and subject to the Code of Conduct and 7 Principles of Public Life. So when members sign their election, acceptance of office, they agree to comply with the Code of Conduct. That's natural consequence. And Tendring District Council, along with other town and parish councils within the area, adopt, the majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them adopted the Local Government Association's Model Code of Conduct sort of around 2023 mark. And when the Local Government Association produced that model code, they were quite clear within their material that they wanted to ensure that the Code of Conduct did make explicit reference to use of social media. And they also, when they produced their Model Code of Conduct, they produced guidance alongside that Code of Conduct, which again makes reference to the acceptable use of social media while holding public office. They have also, the Local Government Association, they have also published a separate piece of guidance which is specifically related to assisting councillors with the use of social media. So there's been quite a lot of guidance that has been produced recently around this topic. I think all members and members of the public would agree that social media has a huge benefit in liaising and communicating and having that engagement with residents, businesses, etc. It has huge positives. We are also all aware that social media has negative impact as well. And because we are bound by the code of conduct, and I say we because even as officers, when you're working in public office as well, we're bound by our own code of conduct, and our code of conduct is also based on the 7 Nolan principles. So we have all decided that in fulfilling this role, we will abide by those principles. And that does put us in a different position than it would to members of the public. And that is why the guidance is really helpful, because it gives tips on what to do and what not to do. And it would be unfair if I said every single case is going to be the same, because it is not going to be the same. But members, throughout the guidance, it talks about, when you're putting yourself into the public domain, think about separating your private role, your private life, from that of being a councillor. Try to distinguish it. You can have 2 separate accounts if you want. If not, make it very clear when you are talking or making comments as a councillor. You have to be really careful that you're not representing your actual council, because your own council will have its own communications and such like. The guidance also provides useful tips on one of the darker sides of social media, and that is responding to trolls and bullies as well. So it's not just, the guidance is not just there to actually say to councillors, don't do this. It is very rounded in my opinion. In addition to what the LGA, that's the Local Government Association, in addition to what they produced, there was also a separate piece of guidance which was published in 2024 by the National Association of Local Councils, which is a similar body, and they also produced a guide and talked about serving the community, and they had a chapter also dedicated to communication and social media, and their comments are included within page 18 of your report. But importantly for me, it goes on to page 19 as well, but importantly for me, at the very end of their own publication, which was directed to local councils, it refers back to the Local Government Association's guidance, of which I've just referred to. So I'm not going to go through the guidance in detail. It is included within page 14, 15, 16, 17 of the agenda, but there are some headings there which I would just like to bring to the attention of the committee. Is that these are relevant excerpts from the guidance, having a measured response to online opinions. And I think there the key is, it's measured response as a councillor. Engaging in healthy debate and tackling misinformation, all of which is acceptable. Abide by the golden rule, and that is where we made sure that, you're polite and positive and encourage healthy debate. Remember that your behaviour does influence others as councillors. You've been, elected to represent your area. It's a very precious position to hold. You can use your voice to tackle misinformation and inaccuracy, but it has to be done with a degree of respect as well. You do need to consider the code of conduct while being active on social media. You do have to think about, is there information in the public domain? You know, are you putting private information into the public domain, which you've had access as a councillor? It says to be aware of what you share. And it does talk about the code of conduct applying when you are acting or deemed to be acting in official capacity. Now, official capacity is interesting because there is case law on when official capacity applies or not. And as a councillor, you are entitled to a private life, you know, but the public will see you as Councillor X, you know, and that's a really important thing to bear in mind. So when councillors are making comments as Councillor X or referring to council business, there is a presumption that they are acting in official capacity. The golden rules, again, on page 17, state that, you know, once something's published, it's out there. You know, whether you remove it or not, it's already out there. You know, people can screenshot things quicker than the comments are removed, and then there is evidence available. And, you know, as I said, the guidance does also give some very helpful tips about how to deal with negativity and abuse online, which is unfortunate that we have to have that, but that's why I believe that the guidance is measured. So that's my report to the committee. I have included within page 7 of the report a recommendation, and which would need to be moved and seconded if you wanted a decision from the committee. But I wanted to highlight that the recommendation I'm putting forward is that you give consideration to the report, and following your debate, you decide whether you wish to make any recommendations on the use of social media to advise and assist. So that's sort of at the point I think I'm going to hand over to the committee. Chairman, happy to answer any questions as the debate continues. Thank you.
Right.
Yes, actually, I really agree with the report personally. It's really good, and the way it's set out, and it covers almost everything. Well, it does cover everything. But what I would say, as you know, as a parish council, it's so important that parish and town councils have a good policy in place, because that policy can be backed up by the code of conduct. 3.7 on the code of conduct from the LGA, compliance with the law means that councillors should comply with a policy. So I think that's a very important point, that town and parish councils have an adequate policy that covers social media and media generally. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. Oh, I think yours is still on, Frank.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Tapped it again.
Just wanted to add to what Councillor Belgrave just said there as well. It's all very well that town and parish councils have the policy adopted, but it's also shouldn't be a dusty document in the background. Town and parish councillors themselves need to be fully aware of it, and maybe some sort of training to bring that to the forefront of everybody's mind of what the implications and everything are, because I'm sure there are town and parish councillors out there that, yeah, there's lots of policies and documents in and around parish and town councils that maybe they're not fully aware of every item and element of that policy. So I think with the increased use of social media and how valuable and what it is, a good tool, it is a positive thing, but I just think bringing it to the forefront of all town and parish councillors' minds and actually making sure they have actually read it and they understand what it all means in form of training, and maybe even getting them to sign to say that they acknowledge that, and moving forward, it just sort of gives everybody that overview of what should and shouldn't be done, and just refreshes it with everybody. I think that's probably something that should come out of this report to move forward with.
Morris?
Thank you. What? Oh, you have finished, haven't you? Oh, sorry, I don't want to cut across you. I'm very curious to know, looking into the not too distant past, as to what training, or if any, has actually been given to parish councils within our tendering group.
Thank you, Councillor Alexander. So I have, together with Mrs. Hayes, provided code of conduct training. We did few sessions here for town and parish councils. So we actually invited town and parish councils. We had a session here initially, and we had some from representatives across the district attend, which was well received. We then, I believe we held another one, and then after that, we then got some specific requests, and I think the Standards Committee agreed it too, that we went round the district. And what I think we went to 3 or 4, and we sort of spread it out across the district so that it was quite easy for town and parish councillors to come to. We wrote to all clerks and invited them to that. And we called it our summer roadshow of town and parish councils. And we have got a dedicated set of slides for town and parish councils. It's very similar to the tendering district council training, but as you can imagine, adapted. And within those slides, we do refer to use of social media. And we do refer to the guidance that's available, and we haven't done a specific session on social media training for town and parish councillors. We have for tendering district council, and actually we brought a third party in to do that training. But I am aware that some town and parish councils have done training on social media, and they have brought individuals in to do that. And there are, I'm sure that our town and parish councillor colleagues can explain more, but there is a raft of information out there. But the main thing for me is that the town and parish councils take ownership of providing the training for their members as well. And I think that's what the research revealed to me, that there's pockets of really good work around the district, and then there's pockets of not so good work around the district.
Thank you for that in-depth explanation. I'd like, if I may, to go to the slides which are available. I'm assuming that one approaches and say, I would like to have a look at these slides, or maybe it's done at a council level. Excuse me, guys, this is something outside of my remit. I've never been to a town or parish council before. But as we plummet towards one here in Clacton, it would be beneficial to all of us to know that those things are available. As you know, as district councillors, we rely very strongly on the protection that the code of conduct brings, as well as keeping us well and truly in check. Which brings me to the point, was that the fact is that, as you know, in any argument, and it appears that there was an argument over social media, it takes two to do that. And surely if the code of conduct had been read and understood better, for another word, the appellant would have stood by and back and said, look, it's enough of this. We'll stop it here. Because the code of conduct does actually show you that you have to abide by that simplicity of its rule.
Yes, the Councillor Alexander's made a very good point about training, but I can reassure him that the Essex Association has tutors and numerous courses on media and social media training. And at the end of it, the councillor would receive a certificate that they'd completed that course, which is quite something to have, you know, that they can prove that they've done the course at least. But it's all very well being trained, but as I've said before, the policy is of the council the most important thing as well, so that the councillors realise they must adhere as a collective to that policy. So yeah, good point from the councillor, and I'm sure when Clacton becomes is parished in that sense, there'll be training with the EALC.
Thank you very much. It's nice to hear that. It's secondary thing on that, but I can't help thinking as we go towards the possibility of having Clacton, Jowick, etc. in Holland Council, that we're also heading towards LGR. And at this point in time, we do not know exactly what other duties will be levied upon councils, parish councils, as there is nothing in between parish and town, or town parish council, whatever, or local council, and then the super council that would sit with the unitary. So that is something that bothers me, and the code of conduct would then become more and more important, and the need of training and understanding how it works through your slides or through what you suggested as well, would be very beneficial. Do you agree that there is an element there which we should be looking at?
I think that due consideration to the future landscape of local government is actually really important, because whether it's a super council or a not so super council, but the point is that you are right, Councillor Alexander, in the fact that there will be a much larger council. The district level will have disappeared because the government's policy is for that single tier. So it will be a lot bigger, and it will cover a much wider geographical area as well, which I think is even more important, that the town and parish councils can have the right tools available, but also as well the right governance in place to be in that more of a local level for community engagement, because the government's policy obviously is that with LGR we still capture community engagement, and we have to make sure that we do that. We'll be under a responsibility to do that. But at grassroots level, as it were, is the most important. And if we spend the sort of next 2 years, as it were, making sure the town and parish councils are fully equipped to do that, then I would hope that they can, do so. But what I will say is, and anybody who's ever sort of taken part in the main standards committee will know what my views are on this, but I will repeat it for this purpose. Those town and parish councils, like Councillor Belgrave says, they've got their own responsibilities and accountabilities as well, and they should be the ones adopting the right policies and procedures. In this instance, I was quite shocked to find out that this particular local council was relying simply on what Tendring District Council had done, and they hadn't done anything at a local level. But that's not right. The right thing is, and I take the point that's been made, and it's not just about the guidance that's out there. It is about also making sure the town and parish councils have got their own policies and procedures adopted as well, because if you want to be a local councillor in that area, you sign up to those as well, don't you, that you're going to abide by them. So that is a good very good point. But the town and parish councils are local authorities in their own right, and they need to act like it as well, and not just rely on the tendering district council. And we won't be here, possibly won't be here after April 28.
You three wise people there, anything to comment?
I would just like to add my weight to what everybody else has said. I think that it is very important that all local councils take ownership and responsibility for all policies that they should.
Okay, thank you. Anybody made? Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, I would agree with that, and I think it's also really important that the guidance is kept uppermost in people's minds through training or acceptance of it and regular review of it.
Okay.
I agree, of course, with what my colleagues are saying. Am I correct in understanding part of the report that not all of the town and parish councils have adopted any code of conduct, or just not adopted the model code of conduct?
They all have a code of conduct. Not all of them adopted the model code, but it is a local choice. So they didn't have to, and the ones that didn't have got the old version, and there was nothing wrong with it. It's just not the model code that the local government association have been promoting. So that's, but as I say, that's a local choice. But the principles of the code are still the same. Also, if I may, Chairman, whilst I've got the mic, we had an email from Sheila Murphy, who is the fourth independent person, and although she was unfortunately unable to attend the meeting, she did send an email, and we did print the wording of that email out and made it available to all councillors and independent persons. But for the benefit of the live stream as well, I'll just read those words out. I have read the paper attached to the agenda and will comment that my view would be that if there is any learning that can be taken from this matter that would assist the town and parish councils, it should be shared with them. Therefore, I think a reminder of the importance of their responsibility in having and implementing a policy that reflects current guidance, recommendations, and which is regularly reviewed to keep it up to date with social media development would be appropriate, perhaps along with links to relevant guidance.
Frank?
Yes, I just wanted some clarification. It's my understanding that a councillor can't take office unless they've individually signed the code of conduct. Is that correct?
The legal requirement is to do the acceptance of office. With the acceptance of the office, then you are naturally agreeing to that council's code of conduct. At tendering district council, we do go a bit further, and we ask our councillors, and I understand this has been adopted at a local level in some areas, that they also sign acknowledgement of the code of conduct. It's a bit belt and braces because it's not legally required, but I think it's a good practice because you give them the code and you go through it and they agree to abide by it. Thanks.
Can we talk to recommendation when it comes up, please? I looked at the recommendation. There is definitely room for expansion there. I think that's why you've done it in such a way that we may be allowed to add our personal views on how this can be grown into a more robust um, uh, recommendation. For me, I would say that lack of education in understanding the code of conduct is what is at the crux of the whole of this meeting we're having here and discussing what did or did not go, because we have no knowledge of what went on. So we're basically looking at something we don't understand because weren't there at the time, and we're making decisions on something we've got no way of being able to quantify any decisions that we might make. We're going round in circles with ourselves. So our purpose, I believe, now, is that we're going to add to the recommendation and make it much stronger, as I said, more robust, so that we end up with something that we can take back to our districts and town parish councils. So that suggestion would be that we take on a more a fuller education program around the code of conduct and, in fact, terms of reference and any other thing that makes us successful. Because the vision, surely, Chair, is not to look backwards, what happened yesterday, or what's going to happen the rest of the day, but what's going to happen in the future. The vision should now be the future, because our future is about to change and we should be ready for it and any change that might come along.
As is my normal practice, I've sort of scribbling down some of the thoughts that came out through the debate as well. And I can assist you with wording of a recommendation to cover these extra requirements should you wish to do so. So following on from Councillor Alexandra's point about a fuller education programme for code of conduct, and I think that's what we would be promoting is done, but also as well there has come through the debate that town and parish councils should be aware of the social media guidance which is available, but also ensure that they adopt adequate policies and procedures for the use of social media within their councils, and then that the appropriate training is delivered to ensure that the requirements of the guidance and the policies are at the forefront of councillors' minds, to ensure that they understand and acknowledge its requirements. And I think we could probably make sure we cover in the minutes, because it's come out, that there is a range of tools available, and that town and parish councils should take the ownership of introducing the right policies for their town and parish council. If members are happy, we could include that wording so that it would follow an introduction to the recommendation, which would say that the Town and Parish Standards Subcommittee, following consideration of the report and its debate, agreed that it wished to make the following recommendations to advise and assist town and parish councils and councillors to maintain high standards of conduct. And then I would suggest those things I've just referred to would be like a B, C, D. So we cover the bullet points in that way. If you were happy, Chairman and Committee, if you was to move what I've just suggested, then and vote on it, then we will obviously make sure that the wording is in line what I've read out, and we'll go back to the live stream to check that we've covered everything. But
have we a proposer then? Morris Alexander, yeah. Seconder. Okay. Everybody else, are you happy with what we've just discussed? I'm sure you are. Everybody's in favour?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Can I just, sorry, Chairman, can I just say thank you for your time today, but not only for today, for those that have been involved behind the scenes. You have known how long this matter has been taking, and for your patience in relation to scheduling meetings as well. And I know that you have taken out time prior to today as well. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that, and for the chairman for fulfilling his role. And I would like to say I hope that we don't have to have another subcommittee, but if we do, we've obviously got a chairman in place.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you to Michael and the young lady next to him there for attending. Well, yeah, come there, the councillors, aren't they? So that's it. Why not?